Hello, hello. This is IM Justus Williams here with another game of today. And again, it's going to come from the tournament Battle of the Sexes, Gibraltar Chess Festival. We got white playing Leandro Krysa and black playing Antoaneta Stefanova. There we go. There we go. We got that one. That was a good one. All right. And so uh another one of my favorite openings, right? It starts out with D4, D5, C4, C6, knight F3, knight F6, knight C3, E6, and now G3. And so the Catalan, right? When you play G3, this is usually going to turn into a Catalan. It's been one of the most popular openings of the past 3 to 4 months, right? Because it's been played in the World Championship match, and it was used by Magnus Carlsen in the World Championship match, which, he retained this title, as we all know. So now everybody's playing it. I've been playing it for years, so, it's whatever. I'll give Magnus the credit, but, who top dog is. And so after G3, the move D takes C4, bishop G2, B5, and now 95. And so now 95 is pretty self-explanatory, right? They're trying to play knight takes C6 and get their pawn back, but with a little bit of extra sauce on it. So black has a couple of moves here, right? You might think, why not play bishop B7? Well, bishop B7 doesn't work because the knight takes B5, and we're still pinned here. So that's bad news for us. But why not play moves like knight D5? Well, moves like knight D5 are allowed to be played, but white can just ignore it with a couple of moves here, and most notably probably just castle or E4. E4 castles probably is maybe E4 right away is called for here. But and if knight B4, then blah blah be castle. And if knight takes C3, well, you're gonna help me solidify my center here. My center is super strong here. And so when I castle, I'm gonna play F4, I'm gonna play F5. You can never play F6 because I can play Queen H5 check. And so black comes up with, so black in these positions are now starting to play the move A6 here, right? Completely ignoring the pawn on C6 because if knight takes C6, Queen B6. Right, we don't take on C6 because bishop takes C6 wins the exchange. So Queen B6, and wherever the knight goes, for the most part, we're gonna play bishop to B7. So if knight goes back to E5, we play bishop back to B7. And the trade of these bishops are usually in black's favor because white is missing their most important piece here, right, around the king. And so moves like H5, H4, and just opening it up this way or playing H3 are being called for here. And so one move that makes sense to look at is like knight A5, right? What if knight A5? Because now you can't play bishop B7. Whoa. But we don't need to. Just play rook A7 here. And your knight is now misplaced on B5, on A5, excuse me, and you're probably losing something here. So tough break. And so instead of knight takes C6, white opts to play the move castle, allowing black to keep the pawn here, which black is probably going to do after bishop B7, because now knight takes B5 doesn't work, because now we have A takes B5 instead of C takes B5. Yay. So after that hot stuff, right, white decides to play B3. Pawn takes B3, queen takes B3, and white is now accepting the pawn deficit here in exchange for active pieces. This is usually what happens in these kind of Catalan positions here, right? When if black is able to take on C4 and keep C4, white is just gonna give it to them and just try to get these open files here. So that they're gonna try to use this open C file, right? So white has these active pieces here and some nice targets to look at as well, right? So that's white's compensation here, or supposed to be white's compensation here. So queen takes B3. That noise is crazy. Queen takes D4, bishop F4, right? Developing another piece, connecting the rooks, protecting e5. So bishop f4 and queen b4 makes a lot of sense, right? When you're up material, you want to trade. When your opponent has an attack going, trade their most powerful piece, right? So queen b4 makes a lot of sense. Queen c2, queen c5, and now rook ac1. So this position is now getting a little bit, is becoming a lot easier to play for white. A lot of white's moves are pretty self-explanatory, right? Bishop f4, developing a piece, protecting the knight, multi-purpose move here, right? Queen back to c2 makes a lot of sense, right? We don't want to trade queens. Rook ac1, right? Protecting our queen, but also lining our rook on the c file, right? Which is an open file. So we know what move might be coming next for white, right? Rook fd1 as well, getting the other rook to the other open file here. So white's moves are pretty easy, but when you're playing black here, it makes a lot of sense, right? Like, why can't I take 2 pawns and just defend, right? Why would I not want to do that, right? I'm fighting a, is it an uphill or downhill battle? Uphill battle. Uphill? Whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. So why would you not want to be able to defend here? Like, if you can defend, if you can get out the opening, if you can get your king castle, most likely you're just going to be able to convert your 2 pawn advantage pretty simply, right? Without having to do too much work. And that's what you want to do. You don't want to have to work too hard. So that's what the battle is, right? Can black consolidate? Is black going to be able to castle, right? Will white's initiative come in time, or will white's initiative blow out of steam here? So after rook ac1, knight bd7 was played, knight takes d7, knight takes d7, and now rook fd1. Rook fd8 makes sense. Protect my knight. Protect my knight. And now this is when white starts to go a little awry, right? And not decides to not proceed in the most logical manner, right? You're down material, so why even try to get your material back, right? You want to keep playing for the initiative, right? So white played the move bishop c7, but the move that probably needed to be played here was a move such as queen to d2, right? Just piling up on his d file, now threatening bishop c7. Now bishop c7 is a lot stronger threat, but also creating other threats, right? Moving the knight, playing moves like knight e4, hitting the queen as well, trying to get into d6, or knight d5, hitting the queen as well, trying to get into c7, right? These are now possibilities. There, a lot of threats here. You want to create threats, right? Bishop c7 is just too simple of a threat, right? So possibly what could happen from this is queen d2, e5, bishop g5, f6, right? If bishop e7, now knight e4 is well timed. It's very well timed here, right? Bishop takes e7, knight d6, a lot of things are happening here. So f6, bishop e3, get back. Queen a3, bishop h3, putting more pressure on some pin pieces. And now queen e7. Right, and white should be doing pretty well after queen c2 because black is not able to consolidate. That's the battle, right? You don't want your opponent to consolidate. The queen is blocking the bishop from developing, which means that they can't castle, right? It's going to take them at least 3 moves to be able to castle. But even if they do castle, in those 3 moves, right, pieces are hanging in the balance. So bishop c7 is probably not necessary here. And after bishop a5, it makes black's task a lot easier to defend here. So after bishop a5, knight f6, queen d2, queen to a7, right? Getting the queen off of the c file here because now the rook is lined up with the queen. So knight moves are very dangerous here. And even though what black played queen a7, white decided, let's do it. Knight takes b5. A takes b5, right? Because c takes b5, losing on the spot to move the move rook takes c6, rook takes c8, excuse me, bishop takes c8, and queen d8 mate. So a takes b5 is forced. And when I saw this game live, I saw this exact position. I was like, "Ooh, rook takes c6 has to be the move here, right? Like knight takes b5 has to be winning because rook takes c6 is a nice follow up." But I just couldn't make it work. It just wasn't too much there. Like after rook takes c6, we'll look at what happens after rook takes c6. But what needed to be played here was bishop takes c6. And this is the only move that really holds the balance here because they can't take your rook back because of queen d8 mate, right? We saw that. So they have to defend that d8 square. So queen a8. And the only way to hold this position is to be able to find this one move here, which is super difficult to find. Queen c3. Queen to c3. And now black needs to play queen takes c6. If rook takes c6, white is actually doing pretty well after this move. Rook to d8. Queen takes d8. Queen takes c6. Right, if knight d7, we're taking queen, so that's not happening. So queen d7, right, whatever. Queen a8 now. Bishop, king e7, and now bishop b4 should give white enough play here to keep going here. So queen here, blah 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 blah, and at least they get to pass a pawn, so that can help. And the king is now safe, and black's pieces aren't coordinated, so it'll be easier to play white. Maybe black still has some chances here to survive. Black definitely has some chances to survive, but not too many chances to be better here. But white opted to play rook takes c6, which is the most aesthetically pleasing line, but it doesn't, it runs out of steam here. So after rook takes c6, bishop e7, rook takes c8, bishop takes c8, bishop c6 check, and now bishop to d7. And what's interesting here is one nice cute little line I saw was, what happens if king f8, right? If king f8, white has a very book-like way to finish off the game. Right, queen d8 here. Right, bishop takes d8, and now bishop b4 check, forcing the king to block itself in, or black to block himself in. Queen e7, rook takes d8, right? The queen is pinned to the king, so knight e8, and like we said, the queen is pinned to the king, so rook takes e8 is actually mate here. So I thought that was interesting. It's nice to see things like that. But instead, bishop d7 was played. And now after bishop takes, excuse me, after bishop b6, queen takes b6, bishop takes d7 now. Right, instead of taking on d7, king f8 is played here. Because if you take on d7, you're just allowing white to just win the game here. Bow, 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 ow. Right, not necessary. So king f8, and black is still up a piece here, up a clean piece here. Right, if black is able to consolidate, right, maybe play h6, g6, king g7, game over. So what does white do? Of course, white continues to throw the game away, because what can you do when you're down a piece, right? Whatever, go for it. So queen d8, and now you're losing another piece here, unless you play rook d1. Right, unless you play rook d1 and opt to just trade queens, but nobody wants to do that. So take your loss like a champ and play rook takes b5 here. And knight takes d7, and now a4. Right, you're not gonna get the piece back. Right, this is not gonna work out. It's actually gonna, yeah, it's just not gonna work out well for you at all, because now the rook and the queen are under attack, so you have to trade, and you're just down 2 pieces for nothing. So after a4, f6, a5, king f7, a6, and now knight c5. And white is just like, all right, cool, I'm done. I'm down 2 pieces. We can stop here. So, I mean, this was a nice opening for a while. This was a nice opening for a while. But white just gave up too many pieces, right? White got too cute, too comfortable, and gave up the whole army, and decided that, well, I guess thought that black needed to take the things that they took, or take the way that white wanted them to take, but it didn't turn out that way, and black was able to accurately defend and pull out the point for the women, right? So that's dope. That was a dope game. That was today's game of the day. Don't sacrifice all your pieces, right? Make sure you actually see it through. If you don't see it through, let it go. Play the safe line. All right. Tune in tomorrow for the other game of today. Bye.